Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the latest spin. I'm Mike Spinner, student athlete world USA, coming at you on a Thursday night, 2 weeks before Christmas. And you know the old song, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Well, in the Northeast, it doesn't quite look like Christmas, but boys, it feel like it. It is cold, it is windy. Oh my goodness, it is really winter. All the talk that this is going to be a cold and miserable winter in the Northeast, I'm starting to believe it. But I actually heard today we had an interview this afternoon today with a boys basketball family from Orlando, Florida, and they were in their car, and he was wearing a hooded sweatshirt. And my mind when I think about Florida is, do people even own hooded sweatshirts who live in like Florida, or at least the southern part of the state? And so I'm like, what are you doing wearing a hoodie? You should be like a tank top. And he said it was like 48 degrees outside. I'm like, well, it's 48 degrees in Florida. Well, that explains Connecticut right now, right? Because it is cold. As you may or may not know, I spend like half my life at an ice hockey rink. My 13-year-old is in season as a travel player, and it's always cold. Like you're in the rink for like a summer camp, and it's 95 degrees outside. The rink itself is cold, which is great during the summer. But we are now at that point where I bring my laptop to his practices, and I continue to kick ass. That's just what I do for a living. And tonight was the first night that I didn't get done nearly as much as I had hoped to, because it was so cold in that rink. Now, when I say it's so cold, I was wearing an Under Armour underneath a hoodie, underneath a winter parka, and I still found myself like, I can't take this. So we're at that part of the winter, like hockey families, you know what I'm talking about, where it is so beyond uncomfortably cold at the rink now. It's bad, and it's not even that deep into the winter. So here we are in the winter. It's almost Christmas, and of course, what better Christmas gift is there than the gift of international travel? We have done to this point significantly more interviews this year than probably any other time during my time with Student Athlete World USA. And we are awaiting the filling of the rosters, which we believe is going to start to pour in pretty soon as this becomes people's Christmas presents. So the message to you is, if this is something you plan on doing, we're absolutely accepting applications, but we are very soon at the point that we're going to start turning people away from certain tours. Now, it's exciting for us, but it's something I'm disappointed when I have to tell our families that. So if you're watching this and your plan is to apply or complete your application, get it done. We're still filling rosters daily, but I think with Christmas now 2 weeks away, this is about to really pick up. Business is picking up, people. So get on it. And kind of my business of the week this week is, for some reason, the last week or so, I've gotten a lot of questions from families who want to go on a tour with us, but they're not sure how they're going to make it work with other international travel plans this coming summer. And so I think it's a good time to explain that if you're planning on being out of the country anyway, and are wondering how you can make it work with our tours, no matter what the tour. Or if you're family from another country, which we get quite a bit, and you want to join us on a tour, how do you kind of make it work? Because obviously we depart from the United States. And the answer is very simple. When you look at the pricing on our website, with the exception of our Canada basketball tour and any tour we do to Costa Rica, the price includes international flights. All right. But it doesn't mean you have to take them. And I'll get into more detail when you interview with me. But you can opt out of our international flights. All you have to do is send me an email, so we have it in writing. You will then receive a bit of a discount on your tour because you're not taking our international flights. And you can choose to fly on your own. So, if you're looking to go to the United World Games and we're landing in Venice, Italy, and you're already going to be in Spain, Well, now you just got to take a flight to Venice and you can meet us. So just pack some extra clothing and you're good to go. So, we are not rigid in the respect that our goal is for you and your entire family to come with us. And while we can't always be flexible for every conceivable question, when we can be flexible, such as international flights, we will be. All right. And all you have to do is ask. So I've had a couple of families the last week or so, like, we don't know if we can make this work because we're going to be out of the country. And, we don't have to fly back to the United States just to fly around the world again. And my response is, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So opt out of our international flights. Our biggest thing is meeting us at the airport when we arrive, before we arrive, so you're not late for us, and we take it from there. And so, we really try to make those types of elements that easy. The other question I get is, well, we're going to go on this tour. We want to stay later. Do we have to fly back to the United States just to fly back to continue our international travels? And the answer is no. You can opt out of our international flights, get some money off your tour, then fly on your own. And again, you just got to meet us at the airport when we arrive. And then you could stay at your destination and travel the world as you see fit. So again, we have that flexibility to kind of customize your summer so that you can kind of do the summer plans that you have already set. While also joining us. We want to make this work. So at the end of the day, if you have, let's say, a customization question about our tour, such as what I just described, just ask me during the interview, or Mike@studentathleteworld.com, or call or text me 203-518-8478. And the point is, I want to work with you and your family. I want to make this happen. And whenever we can be flexible, we will be. But we can't be flexible if you don't ask me about it first. So there you go. And now, what in the world? This week's What in the World is brought to you by Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch. Now, I talk food a lot. I'm a foodie. I'm a chef. So I like talking food. Whether you're on an interview with me or on my show here, I like to talk food. I am not much of a breakfast person in general. Like, I'll eat breakfast, if it's sitting in front of me, but I'm just not much of a fan of most breakfast foods. Like, fun fact about me, I'm not allergic to eggs. I just don't eat them. Hard-boiled eggs sometimes. But I don't like the taste of eggs. Weirdest thing, because most food, a lot of food has some degree of egg component to it. But like, you put scrambled eggs in front of me, I'm probably not doing it. So I'm just not a breakfast person. Not a big fan of bacon. And I like sausage, but like the big, like, Bavarian sausages you get, like when we went to Austria, this year, like that's a sausage I like sausage and peppers. Yeah, there we go. That's when I like sausage, not as a breakfast food though. So not a big breakfast person, not a huge cereal person, but I have a 13-year-old and he has held on to the Christmas spirit in a way that very few teenagers do. He truly loves this time of year. All right. Like, I hate Christmas music. He loves it. Things like that. So I was food shopping the other day and I came across Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch. So Cinnamon Toast Crunch, if you've never had it, and shame on you if you haven't, that is an example of delicious cereal. That is a type of cereal that I could wolf down a whole box with some milk and feel real good about myself. So I saw Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch, which is a seasonal item. And because obviously sugar cookies is a big part of this time of year. And I got to tell you, I might become a breakfast person. All right. That is one delicious cereal. And the best part is drinking the milk at the end. Like, it is a big deal. So if you have yet to discover the wonderfulness that is Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch, I'm advising you to go out and find a box right now. Like, if there's like a 24-hour supermarket that's open near you, get out of the house, get some Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch, put a little extra milk in there so you can get a big gulp out of the bowl at the end. You will thank me later. So welcome aboard as a sponsor, Sugar Cookie Toast Crunch. Now, for What in the World this week, it really should be What in the World Michigan football. All right. Because here is a blue blood, historically dominant program that has made the inability to get out of its own way into an art form. It is shocking the level of dysfunction that this program has reached. So under Jim Harbaugh, they win a national championship. Well done. But then after Jim Harbaugh, we find out about Connor Stallions. I'm not going to go into all the details there. And it's been one scandal after another. Now you have a coach this week fired because here's a married man who should be setting the example for the young athletes who follow his lead and carrying on an affair with apparently his executive assistant. It was caught. He lost his job, then police action, and he was arrested. And now Michigan needs a new coach again. And it's like, it isn't that Michigan has had some turnover. It's the one scandal after another. Harbaugh had it, Connor Stallions, now this. I'm sure I'm missing something. I feel like for every major NCAA scandal, there are 3 or 4 we don't even know about. And here's my thing. So there was a time that Reggie Bush from USC was a Heisman Trophy winner, and his Heisman Trophy winner was revoked because he had received some improper benefits financially while at USC, and they had all kinds of sanctions. And at the time, it probably made sense. So the NCAA was willing to say the most prestigious award possibly in all of college sports was vacated because the recipient of that award received what nowadays would be not even a benefit at all, more like a gift. Now this is called NIL. And there was major punishments for that. But now you have the University of Michigan engaged in one humiliating scandal after another. Humiliation. My question is, and by the way, I guess I've made this all about the University of Michigan. Sorry, folks, but I did not mean to do this. But my bottom line point, because I want to get to the real reason why I'm doing What in the World this week. If the institution of the University of Michigan cannot properly oversee its football program, then quite frankly, it shouldn't have a football program. Bottom line, I don't care how good they are. I don't care how big the stadium is. All right? Because as much as I bust on Wisconsin, and I do, and I always will, right, Tim? You don't have scandals there, which is good because they don't really win much, so they probably shouldn't have scandals. But the point being, just like Penn State with Jerry Sandusky, and I've said it for years, they should have lost their program minimum of 5 years for that. Michigan, you can't control your football program. You don't get to have one. 5 years minimum. They'll never do it because of the amount of interest and money that the University of Michigan football generates. But it really, at some point, the punishment has to fit the crime. Right? There's Connor Stallions, and there's a Netflix special about him that if you haven't seen it, shame on you. Go see it. And now this latest one, they've lost another coach. I believe their AD may or has been fired. Enough is enough. Do it right. And now the rumor is Kalen DeBoer may move over from Alabama, which I don't know why, but he might. Which means I wonder if Lane Kiffin's going to go from LSU to Alabama. What a story that would be. But anyway, the real What in the World this week is dedicated to the team that has been my personal pride and joy in sports for the longest period of time, and that is the New York Mets. I first became a Met fan in 1984. All right, so I'm approaching 50 years of age. I'll be 49 in February, unfortunately. And for most of that time, I've been a Mets fan. This will be my 42nd season as a Mets fan. We've had one unforgettable year, which was 1986, which means if you remember that, it's past your bedtime. Other than that, some good years in there, but mainly heartbreak and disgust. And yet still, I maintain my faith and allegiance in the New York Mets. I grew up right near Shea Stadium, and now they're Citi Field. And being an 80s child and a Mets fan was an amazing journey, culminating in the 1986 World Series championship. And I have endured a lot of struggle and heartbreak to maintain my love of the New York Mets. And this week, in a 24-hour span, my passion for the New York Mets, at least temporarily, has been extinguished. And for the Mets, it's like, what in the world? Not because Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso left. Part of me wasn't surprised to see both. I was pretty surprised about Edwin Diaz, not so much about Pete Alonso. A year ago, he was a free agent, and the Mets gave him an inappropriately short contract, kind of disrespectful for a guy who's meant so much to this organization. So you kind of figured he would have some hard feelings and would leave. And he got 5 years from the Baltimore Orioles. Probably, if you read any article about his free agency journey, probably only deserved 3. The thought is he's got 3 good years left, and he'd probably only get 3. He got 5, so he went with the money. But here's my thing. So the Mets were bought by Steve Cohen, that'd be 5 or 6 years ago now, a man with unlimited deep pockets. Billions and billions of dollars, lifelong Mets fan. I'm going to spare no resources to bring a World Series back to the Mets. One of the best days in Mets history is when he bought him. And he got Francisco Lindor. And then he got Juan Soto. And this year's team in April, when the season started, seemed like destined to, at a minimum, reach the league championship series again. Probably lose to the Dodgers, but maybe even be a better team because of Juan Soto. Maybe win the World Series. I was optimistic. First 6-7 weeks of the season, 6-7, haha. First 6-7 weeks of the season, we're the best team in baseball. Then it all came falling apart. They're never the same. For a long stretch, they couldn't pitch. Then for a long stretch, they couldn't hit. Didn't even make the playoffs. And now they're losing 2 cornerstone players. They've lost 2 cornerstone players. And I have a theory. You got to wonder, Mets fans, or just baseball fans in general, what in the world does Juan Soto take away from a team? We know what he brings. Arguably the best bat in the game. All right? The best approach to hitting in the game, arguably. Big pickup for the Mets, and was a better right fielder than he thought he was going to be. But there's all this talk now that he divided the locker room, that he was like a cancer. And sports locker rooms are very fragile. One bad apple can spoil the bunch. We see it a lot in football. We see it a lot in basketball. I have a funny feeling, a prediction, that it's going to come out at some point that Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz wanted to stay. Because if you're a Mets fan or if you're just a big baseball fan, they were really intertwined into the fabric of this franchise. They weren't just good players on this team. They were 2 of the faces of Mets baseball for several years now. All right. Must-see TV. Pete Alonso, to me, felt like he was part of my family. All right. I'm so sad that he's gone. I'm literally hurt. I've been walking around for 2 days, literally sad because he's gone. Hard to believe they wanted to leave, unless the locker room situation became so untenable because of Juan Soto that they did not want to be a part of it anymore and had a chance to leave. And what proof do I have? I have one conspiracy theory sliver of proof. Edwin Diaz was the first one to leave. What was the day he selected to go to the Dodgers? The day he chose not to allow the Mets to match the Dodgers' offer and leave. It was the 1-year anniversary of the Mets signing Juan Soto. There's some real significance there, if you ask me. So you got to wonder, because professional athletes, whether it's on their own or through their agents, are really into sending messages. All sports. And so I'm wondering out loud, did Edwin Diaz for sure, and to a lesser extent Pete Alonso, time their exit around this anniversary for Juan Soto as a message to the New York Mets that they made a bad move? And if they did, this franchise is in trouble for a long time to come, because Juan Soto isn't going anywhere. So for Mets fans, we thought we went past our own dark ages that we had in the early 80s, most of the 90s, and much of the 2000s. We thought, and the 2010s pretty much, except for the World Series here, pretty much all of it. A few good years in the 2010s. but a lot of dark years for the Mets. We thought with Steve Cohen, we'd moved past it. I'm wondering if the dark ages of the New York Mets are just beginning. I certainly hope I'm wrong. That's it for the latest spin this week. Is always great fun. And as usual, there's only one way to give your family the greatest Christmas present they'll ever get. Go to studentathleteworld.com, complete your application, interview with me, and pack your bags. Next week will be the final latest spin of 2025. Looking forward to it as always. For now, enjoy the rest of your week. And I hope wherever you're watching this from, it's a lot warmer than where I am. Have a great week, everybody.